Hello there, men, and welcome to the Masculinism Movement channel, a place for men to be men and talk about masculinity and men's issues. I'm your host, Brian Krall, and today I have a very special video for you. This is the beginning of a series of videos on what is called in psychology the Dark Triad and the Dark Quadrad. And today I'm going to be introducing you to these concepts with a reading from an article that I wrote that is found in my blog on my website, which you can find linked below if you would like to read along. But first, would you please click that like button for me because the channel really needs it. You know how YouTube is with these types of things. So, this article is titled "The Types of People Who Are Incapable of Healthy Relationships. The Dark Triad Person." Most people out there have been in unhealthy relationships before, and oftentimes you found yourself caught in these situations because your partner made you believe that they really cared about you, wanted to have a healthy relationship with you, and were capable of one, and were willing to do what it took to make the relationship work, and that you could trust them in all of that. But no matter how much they made you believe these things, the relationship never ended up being healthy. So why is it that some people just don't seem capable of having a healthy relationship? The cold, hard, dark truth is that some types of people are not only incapable of love, but are incapable of having a healthy relationship of any kind, like at all. The types of people who aren't even capable of empathy, caring, or connections, or even treating you as an equal with the respect and decency and human rights that you deserve. The types of people who simply will never be good to you, even though they may swear they're going to be. But this is really just part of their using and exploiting you. And so they make you believe that they care for you and that you two have a connection and can expect to have a great relationship with them. They may even manipulate you into falling in love with them and believing that they love you. But in the end, they will only abuse you and hurt you and even destroy you because it has actually been all part of a ploy. And you have really just been a source of some sort of social utilities that they needed. And once they have bled you dry of whatever resources they wanted from you, they will move on to the next victim, oftentimes leaving you devastated in the process and not caring at all about the harmful and destructive impact that they have had on you. Hearing this, you may have a past relationship or two, and hopefully not more, come to mind in which your partner was like this. You probably have a number of friends and peers who you have also seen suffer in these ways, and maybe people like you even saw it for what it was and tried to warn them, but they never listened because they were too caught up in the web of deceit that their partner had spun around them, just like a black widow spider. And because they are masters of the art of emotional manipulation, deception, and game playing, in which they use the concept and feelings of love to gain control over you, it is oftentimes very hard to detect when you are in one of these situations until it is too late and they have just about destroyed you. So how can we know when we are dating one of these types? And how can we protect ourselves from them? Firstly, by knowing who these people are exactly and what their psychological conditions and symptoms are. Because these people have a name. In psychology, they are called dark triads. It sounds scary, right? Because, yeah, it is. They are called dark triads because they consist of the three worst, most negative and destructive personality types or mental conditions that a human being can have. And I'm going to be sharing with you exactly what the term dark triad means and the three conditions it consists of in a moment. Then, second, and most importantly, we need to understand what the behaviors of the dark triad people are so that we can know exactly what to watch out for and we can be able to detect when we are getting caught up in the web of the dark triad person. But, reader beware. We're about to delve deeply into some of the darkest areas of human psychology, so that may be very scary for you to hear about, especially having probably dealt with these types of people before. So this will not be comfortable, but it is necessary because it is the only way you can safeguard yourself against being taken advantage of, used, abused, hurt, and even destroyed in any number of ways. So, the dark triad and its three traits are narcissism, which is a pathological self-absorption, extreme egotism, selfishness and self-centeredness, self-love and delusions of grandeur at the expense of others, and the inability to see others as equals or respect them, which leads to treating them poorly. Narcissists are neurotic egomaniacs who are both insecure and arrogant because they have this inferiority or superiority complex. They are addicted to validation and must constantly seek it in order to feel the way they want to about themselves. Relationships with them are codependent and based upon using others for validation and resources. They oftentimes seek leadership positions and power over others and have little scruples about how they get it. Then there's antisocial behavior. This includes either sociopathy or psychopathy. These are people who have an almost complete inability to empathize with the feelings of others, or to recognize that other people have feelings at all and are sentient beings that can feel pain. So sociopaths and psychopaths tend to be very hurtful towards other people with no regards to their feelings or even recognition that they have feelings and are being hurt. The difference is that sociopaths are non-violent and psychopaths are violent. Sociopaths are more common in business situations and will do things such as throwing coworkers under the bus to get ahead or doing things that are harmful or destructive for profits, whereas psychopaths will be more physically aggressive and violent and enjoy physically dominating or hurting others and sometimes even killing them. Psychopaths are more common in the military, sports, the police, and other occupations that involve physical aggression. And as we all know, murderers are, of course, psychopaths as well. And you never know what someone who has ASPD or antisocial personality disorder is capable of. And then the last is Machiavellianism. This word is basically a more socio-political word for manipulation. Machiavellian behavior is manipulating one's social and political environment strategically for one's own dominance and advancement. In the socio-political world, it is most common in people who will often be playing all sides of a situation and being deceptive of others in order to get ahead. In business and military, when taken to its extreme, it is the type of ideology shared by those who are the hostile takeover types. Machiavellian behaviors can be anything from one woman turning a wife and husband against one another in order to take revenge on the wife and steal the husband, to a prime minister who decides to turn on a country that was once their ally and invade them. So now that you understand what the three aspects of the Dark Triad are, it's time for you to learn everything you need to know about the Dark Triad people's behaviors that make them so seductive, manipulative, dark, and destructive so that you can safeguard yourself against them. So what I've done is compiled a list of the general Dark Triad behaviors you need to be aware of. And then in the following videos, I'm going to be taking a deep dive into each part of the Dark Triad and all of the different behaviors you could expect in each one of those. But here are the general things to watch out for in a Dark Triad type. They are oftentimes very beautiful and present very well and have a lot of pride, but not in a healthy way. They are overly focused on their self-image and their ego, and are also very showy, boastful, pretentious, and pompous. They think of themselves as superior or superhuman, like a king or queen or a god or goddess, and they are not shy about showing it, but rather the opposite. While most people do not consider such arrogant qualities good ones, and if told they were behaving as such, they would be embarrassed about it. The narcissist is even proud of their narcissistic tendencies and has no problem with admitting that they are narcissistic, since they see it as a valid reality for their superior status. The empathy center in their brain is not active, so they are incapable of experiencing empathy except perhaps for their parents or children. They simply do not understand the feelings of others, or that others even have feelings. The emotional reality of others simply doesn't register in their brain, and thus they are not only incapable of making an emotional connection with others, but they are incapable of acting with consideration and regard to others' feelings, and will feel nothing when they do something to hurt others, and may not even understand why they are acting hurt. They only respect themselves and have no respect for others. They say they want to be respected, but will disrespect you and undermine your self-esteem in seeking to inflate their ego. They demand more respect than they give. They feed off of validation from others, but not only do not offer any, but may also feed off of invalidating others and disempowering them. They demand validation and will feed on your attention, leaving you drained emotionally and physically. They do not, however, reciprocate on this. They ask for more than they give, especially when it comes to respect, because they have narcissistic double standards. They act selfishly, with only their self-interest in mind in all situations. In a relationship, they may act as though they care about someone and want to do what is in their best interest, but they'll end up doing things at the other's expense, and which serve their self-interest alone. They will act as though they believe in egalitarianism, but in truth, they consider themselves superior and others inferior, and their mission is to extract resources from others. They may even act like they are going to be doing things for others and giving things to them to get them to do or give things to them, and then will only take and never give. However, the selfish person hates having to face their selfishness, and if it is ever brought to their attention, it will make them feel weak, and they will get extremely defensive, and even lash out and act like they are being victimized. They often have had a bad childhood, one in which they were emotionally neglected or abused, or were just raised in a way that caused developmental difficulties because they did not get the love, care, and nurturing from their parents that they needed as children. This led to them not being able to mature emotionally, to take responsibility, or to be able to deal with frustrations and other negative emotions associated with not getting their way, failure, loss, rejection, etc. Their lack of maturity and ability to be responsible for themselves causes them to act childish and selfish towards others by trying to get others to take responsibility for things that they should be responsible for. And as adults, or once their parents expect them to be independent at whatever age, they will seek out selfless people who they can latch onto and extract value and resources from instead of their parents. They are oftentimes very charming and charismatic and very successful as well because of the fact that they have an exaggerated sense of self-worth and confidence, and also have no empathy, and thus they do not get nervous in situations where most people would, and instead act with more confidence than anyone else would in those situations. And they are also very skilled manipulators. They are very manipulative game players who are not only very charming and charismatic, but also seductive and persuasive, and are able to make others think what they want them to think. They use manipulation and game playing for their success in social and business situations. They make friends and even use seduction to create sexual relationships, and will make these people think that they care about them and just use them and exploit them, and have no qualms about throwing them under the bus later. They feel no empathy for people they hurt in order to achieve their own success, and consider it a necessary tactic that they may actually be proud of because they consider it intelligent and tactful. And as part of their manipulation, whenever others accuse them of being manipulative or doing whatever it is they are doing in that situation, they will act like they are being victimized by them, and that the person accusing them is the one being manipulative. Most relationships they have with people are just considered pawns to them in their games and strategies for success. These are the types of people who will seduce someone and pretend to love them, then marry them and take over their company and assets and leave them with nothing. They cannot accept opposition, disagreement, or people not conforming to their will or not getting their way. When persuasion and manipulation do not work to get others to conform to their will, they get frustrated and even enraged, and will start lashing out at them and attempting to punish them or get revenge for their dissent. They play the victim card and do not take responsibility for their unhealthy or destructive behaviors. Instead of trying to evaluate their faults, they will always have rational excuses for bad behavior, such as acting misunderstood and blaming others, acting like they are getting victimized when they are victimizing others. And they will want you to somehow take the blame for things that are clearly their fault and not yours. They will also show psychopathic behaviors, invalidating you and twisting reality. They will not take ownership of their abusive behavior, but use gaslighting to make you second guess yourself and your comprehension of reality, and make you think that it is your response to their abuse that is toxic. They will accuse you of things that they provoked, and then make it seem like your reactions are not sane and are the real problem. They are pathological liars. Lying is instinctual to them. They are the fake it till you make it types who try to lie the reality they want into existence, and believe that if they believe in their lies hard enough, they can get others to believe in them, and then that will turn them into a reality. They will lie and show no signs of remorse when caught, and won't usually ever admit to their lie, or if they do, they will claim it has a valid explanation which somehow makes you the mistaken one for taking them the wrong way. This means that they may tell white lies very casually and naturally, or they may tell bigger lies and even act like they themselves believe them. They may also make promises that they often break, or often say one thing and do something different, or go back on their word often and not honor their commitments, obligations, or plans and arrangements. Or they may simply just act in a manner that is untrustworthy and ingenuine in general. Like they seem to say things they do not really mean and may seem to be putting on an act at times, right? Their reality is entirely made up of lies. Even their own identity is just a mask that they are wearing. Being with them is like being in a theater that they spin for you with their tales and mind tricks such as gaslighting to make it seem like everything they say is true in spite of it being mostly the opposite, and making you doubt your own reality and actually believe them. They provoke destructive behavior but pretend to be innocent. They act like they hate drama but cause it and feed off of it and then blame others for it. They will do things to spark negative emotions in you, such as inciting jealousy and competition between you and others by flirting with others in front of you or keeping in touch with a former lover just to get you to show them how much you care and make them feel good. In a romantic relationship, they are not capable of real, true, healthy love, only torrid love affairs, which may seem passionate but are very shallow and oftentimes are really just them using their partner. They have what is called these whirlwind romances, which consist of worship and then abandonment, which has three elements to it: idealization, devaluation, and then discarding. Though these are not necessarily mutually exclusive. They will seem to fall in and out of love hard and fast, starting as soon as they see value in you, and ending when the value is no longer useful. They will love bomb and flatter you and shower you with affection to get you engaged, giving overt demonstrations of attention, affection, and admiration, and then withdrawing it at the first sign of trouble. Now, as you probably remember, under the antisocial behavior category, I listed both sociopathy and psychopathy. These two are both the same in that they are the mental conditions characterized by antisocial behavior, which is destructive behavior towards others. However, there is one key difference that distinguishes them from one another. The destructive behaviors of the sociopath are social. Those of the psychopath are physical. Psychopaths are actually violent. When dealing with a psychopath, you are in even greater danger of the person doing physical harm to you, even abducting you, torturing you, and potentially killing you, especially if you attempt to leave them. And when you're dealing with this type, the Dark Triad takes on a whole new dimension and becomes what is called the Dark Quadrad, with the addition of sadism, which is when someone takes pleasure in inflicting pain upon others. These cases are more rare, but they do exist, and because they are rare, we oftentimes are vulnerable to them, thinking they could never happen to us. But I actually had a next-door neighbor who ended up being a psychopath who was brought up on murder charges, and I, being the social scientist, was the only one who had even noticed his antisocial behaviors in the whole community. And the fact that no one else knew what to watch out for is what led one person to become victimized by him and lose their life. So it is very important to safeguard yourself against these types as well. And so I actually made a video on what to watch out for to be able to tell if you are dating a psychopath, which you can watch linked below, and which will actually take you over to my psychology channel, the True Life Development Mind Power channel. So be sure to check out the rest of the channel while you are there as well. But to close up here, be safe out there when you are dating. Make sure you are practicing social intelligence and awareness and screening your partners carefully, while of course not falling into a fear-based mentality and antisocial mode yourself. Just make sure that you are watching the behaviors of your partners and guarding yourself against dark triad or quadrad tendencies and people, and filtering out anyone who shows multiple red flags that they are not healthy for you. Staying away from potentially unhealthy relationships with bad social influences is very important for your overall mental health. But that actually concludes this talk, which was actually just part 1 in the Dark Triad and Quadrad series, and you can look forward to the next part, which will be on Machiavellianism. And I hope that I mansplained all that well enough for you guys out there. Thank you for listening, and be sure to share your own thoughts and opinions by commenting below, and any experiences you might have had with the Dark Triad types yourself that fit into the description that I have given you. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and share these messages with everyone by sharing the video on social media and talking about these things too. And lastly, check out the links in the description below for other resources for your masculine personal development and living the life you want to as an independent man. And if you can afford to donate, please do so with the PayPal link below, because your support funds me doing this work and fighting a good fight for men like you. And you can stay tuned for that next video coming out soon, which will be on Machiavellianism, and make sure you're subscribed so you'll be notified when that is. And until then, take care of yourselves, men. because no woman out there is going to.